Subscribe and click the notification bell to stay updated with the latest videos from School of Technology, Management and Engineering and MIMS Indore.
A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Isha Katyani, on behalf of School of Technology Management and Engineering, NMIMS Indore, welcome you all to the sixth and the last session of Sunday Tech Series Season 2. As we know, new knowledge is the most valuable commodity on earth. To share new knowledge and explain how to put it into use, the students at STM NMIMS Indore came up with the idea of hosting a series of webinars introduced as the Sunday Tech Series. The success of Season 1 of Sunday Tech Series in 2020 inspired us to come forward with a second season. The second session began on 13th June, and so far there have been 5 sessions conducted on C++, Java, AI and machine learning, IoT and cloud computing, and cybersecurity. The YouTube links for all the previous webinars have been shared in the chat box. With 300 plus registrations and active participation in the previous webinars, we are here with the sixth and the last webinar of the season. Before we move ahead, I would first like to explain the flow of today's session. First up, we have a question answer session with Mr. Hardik Somani, our industry expert for today, which will help us all to enhance our knowledge in analytics. This webinar will cover the fundamental concepts of data analysis. By the end of the session, participants will get hands-on experience on how to analyze data using MS Excel. Attendees are requested to keep in mind that after the completion of the session, a feedback form link will be shared in the chat box. Everyone is requested to fill it, as certificates will be provided based on the submission of these forms only. Moving ahead, we have the honor of welcoming Mr. Hardik Somani, Director and COO at Sapio Analytics. As an industry expert, Mr. Somani is a technology enthusiast with leadership qualities and extensive international exposure with masters in construction. He's highly driven and performance-oriented. He's skilled in entrepreneurial industry with a demonstrated history and proactively building and managing various portfolios. We feel privileged to have you today with us, sir. Now, I would request Shachi Malviya and Tanishka Singh for further proceedings.
Thank you, Isha. Hello, sir. We welcome you to the sixth session of Sunday Tech Series Season 2. We would like to thank you for joining in today's question answers session. It would be an interesting and engaging platform where we get to know your views and opinions about some important questions.
Thank you, Sachi.
Firstly, we would like to ask you, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We are fine.
Yeah.
That is great to hear, sir. So, shall we start with the question answer session?
Yeah, please.
All right, let's begin with the first question that we have for you. Sir, you are a director and CEO at Sapio Analytics. So could you please tell us more about your responsibilities and roles over there?
Yeah, so firstly, Sachin, let me take this opportunity to congratulate you, Tanishka, Isha, Aditi, and the entire team for organizing such a beautiful concept, rather, I would say, which is productively utilizing the time of students as well as industry experts on a Sunday afternoon, rather. So, thanks for doing this event. Now, coming to your question. As a role of my role being the director and CEO at Sapio, it's rather, I would say, so I'll just start with something very interesting. So Sapio is an organization, I guess probably you must have briefed to all, but if not, then I'll give a quick overview about it. So Sapio is primarily a data-driven government advisory firm. We provide policy recommendations to the government across the globe. So when we started this somewhere 2 years back, so I was just going through some old file yesterday, and came across minutes of a board meeting where we had defined certain roles and responsibilities of all the founders of this organization. And somewhere down the line, the roles and responsibilities, which started as something primarily coordinating between the teams, building a website, creating a letterhead, drafting a simple email, something which started with so basic in the past 2 years. This role and responsibilities have converted tremendously to more on the operational side, as well as primarily on the resource requirement, business development, and government relations. So when I say about roles and responsibilities, not something which is very limited and restricted to a certain boundary, but it's rather we encourage everyone at Sapio to take that kind of ownership, that you are a part of the organization and owner of the organization. So maybe the roles and responsibilities may be restricted to certain extent, but it's the boundaries are not well defined so that people can explore other opportunities and try to provide their inputs into the other domains as well. So majorly, I'm looking after, having said so, I'm looking after the operations and the execution to some extent. So that's my current roles and responsibilities. Thank you.
Sir. So firstly, thank you for for praising our organizing team. And also it sounds really quite interesting how you are managing all the roles and responsibilities. We are sure that we have many people in our audience too who want to work in analytics and related jobs in future.
Definitely, all are welcome. It's primarily a learning organization, I would say.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is like, we know Sapio works hand in hand with government. So what are some of the projects that you have undertaken and their impact?
So when we say government, Tanishka, it's everything which is related to, rather I would say, citizens, more or less. So anything which impacts directly or indirectly on the lives of the citizens is something which we undertake. So the kind of stakes involved in whatever we do is quite high, and accordingly the returns are also high, because we get that sort of motivation and satisfaction when we are impacting lives of billions of people of the country. So we are undertaking various projects. I guess some of the team members over here are also doing internship with us. So they are kind of exposed to different kind of projects that we are doing. But the bottom line being that we are undertaking any project which does social impact in the society. So we are working currently with government of Telangana, government of Uttar Pradesh, government of Delhi, government of Kerala on multiple things. One of the projects that we recently completed, phase one of the project, is with government of India, wherein we are connecting the migrant laborers with the industries in their hyper local area, so that we can in turn try to improvise the economy, as well as we can try to provide the employment opportunities. Similarly, we are working with government of Uttar Pradesh on bringing the informal sector into the mainstream economy. So these are some of the projects. Even I guess on this UP project which I mentioned about, we have innovated a concept called smart digital sensors, in which one of your team members, Aditi, has been actively part of that particular research paper, which was recently published by International Journal for Science and Engineering Research. So these are kind of innovations we keep on doing, and simultaneously the projects that we do, these innovations are sort of executed in those projects. So anything which relates to social impact.
Okay. So we are glad you are doing so much for the citizens. I mean, it's indeed nice hearing that you are contributing this much for betterment of people.
Thank you. Thanks, Tanishka. It's not only me, it's, I would say, rather the thought behind everyone who is directly and indirectly associated with Sapio.
Yes, sir. So moving to our next question, we all know that data is important nowadays in many fields. So what are your thoughts on data analytics or business analytics?
So I would contradict with your term nowadays. It's not important nowadays. It has been since I guess I don't know since how long, since probably about a century, 2 centuries ago. But it is something which data analytics is something which we do in everyday actions, everyday life. Data analytics and decision making is part of the analytics that is driven probably intentionally or unintentionally, subconsciously. So I'll give a short example. Like I don't know how many of you might follow this pattern, but when I was in the college, firstly, I'm very glad to reconnect with the university, which gave me the golden days. So during my college time, what I used to do primarily is that I used to, there are four steps in data analytics, I would rightly say. Is first step is the data collection. So data collection exams jab rehte the, so I used to scan the last 5 years question papers for that particular subject. I guess probably
Sir, everybody does that.
We also do.
Right. So first step comes over there is the data collection, right? So you scan the last 5 years question paper on that particular subject. Then comes the data normalization part, wherein what you do is you primarily, let's say, for example, take one subject of finance, for example. So there might be certain questions on that particular topic, which might be, rephrased or in a different manner, but the answer will be same more or less. So you try to normalize that data into putting into one structured, let's say, for example, debt and equity के ऊपर इतने questions है, right? So in that way, you try to categorize those things. So that is data normalization. The third step that you must be doing is the data analytics, wherein you try to analyze कि ये 5 question debt के ऊपर आए, 3 question shareholding pattern पे आए, 2 question equity के ऊपर आए, and in that way you try to prioritize कि किसका ज़्यादा है, right? So this is happening in everyday life. Data analytics is not something new which is happening right now, but somewhere during this particular analytics and the steps which you undergo subconsciously, इसमें हम लोग कई सारे factors जो है हम scientifically डाल नहीं पाते. So that is where the new age technology is coming into the picture right now. So let's say when doing this kind of analysis, there might be many factors. Let's say कि वो 5 साल पहले प्रोफेसर कौन से थे, वो प्रोफेसर का प्रोबेबली फेवरेट क्वेश्चन ये हो सकता है, वो फैक्टर हम लेना कभी भूल जाते हैं. उसमें मार्क्स कितना आए थे लोगों को, क्या रेशियो था, किस तरीके से एम्फेसिस हुआ था उस क्वेश्चन के ऊपर. So there are hundreds of factors which can come into the play, जिसका अपना अपना एक वेटेज होगा. So this is what we call the scientific data analytics, and that's what we try to do within the government sector, within the business sector, within all the sectors that we are working, that we are primarily scientifically utilizing data into a manner which can give us a data backed technology intervention into the particular decision making field. So I would say that its utmost importance has enhanced now, and especially after this pandemic, I would say that data and the associated decision making based on this data as something which has been exposed tremendously, not into the government sector, but into the finance, into the business domain as well. Because people have now realized that somewhere down the line, technology plays a bigger role in whatever decisions, whatever business they tend to do. And that's where analytics forms a primary part. So it's not something which is new. It was there, it is there, it is going to be there. Only the mechanisms of utilizing those data and the associated analytics out of it are going to get advanced as we move forward. But it is something which is going to be there. So I'm not only me, but in fact, all the industry experts, as you must have seen, people, billionaires are acquiring companies which are probably just more or less, I would say, a BPO or a call center. So recently also one of the major acquisition took place for one of such companies. So these are all related to data. So they might not have a revenue in a short as of now on face, but in-depth value of this data is very huge. So there are different companies who are trying to enter into Indian market. Let's say, for example, the electric vehicles. So for them to enter into the Indian markets, they might need that sort of analytics, as in कौन से एरिया में कहाँ पे चार्जिंग स्टेशन होना चाहिए, कितना मार्केट पेनिट्रेशन करना है, based on the requirement of that particular area. So that's where we recently initiated with one of our subsidiaries called EV Jagat as well, wherein we are focusing more on the electric vehicles, which are going to be the future of the next generations to come. So of course, coming back to the basic, that it is of the utmost importance, and these are my views on the analytics.
So I'm sure this information is very useful for all, since data analytics is very popular these days also and earlier days also. So, sir, now can you let us know more about the Sapio umbrella?
Yeah, so Sapio umbrella is something, Saji, which we had designed, conceptualized at the start of formation of this organization. So what the founders, the chairman and the CEO, as well as all of us, believe was that only doing certain sort of projects are not enhancing or learning new things is something which may make us redundant after some point of time. So that's where we initiated this concept of Sapio Impact Center and Sapio Umbrella. So Sapio Impact Center is basically our business centers जहाँ पे हम लोग revenue generate करने की try कर रहे हैं, and Sapio Umbrella is primarily our learning center. वहाँ हम लोग बेसिकली R&D कर रहे हैं अलग अलग प्रोजेक्ट्स के ऊपर, अलग अलग प्रोडक्ट्स के ऊपर. वी आर डूइंग calling sessions, we are calling seminars, we are asking well-known speakers to come and share the knowledge at that particular center. So वो जो हमें knowledge वहाँ से मिलता है, those knowledge is something which we try to implement in our impact center. So Sapio Umbrella is primarily a learning center which helps us run our cost center, revenue center rather. So there are four components in Sapio Umbrella right now. That is research and development, learning center. The third is industry center. We are actively partnering with multiple industries because every organization has their own limitations. Every individual has their own limitations, and these limitations can be mitigated and can be leveraged if we partner or collaborate with someone who has more expertise in that particular domain. So we partner with the industries, we partner with the universities. NMIMS University itself had helped us a lot during the first wave of COVID, wherein we had partnered with them, collaborated with them to provide data-backed decision support system to various government bodies at a on pro bono basis. We did not charge the government, but rather we sponsored those models. And the fourth thing is the alumni network. So what we strongly believe is that anyone who has been part of the Sapio community should stay more or less as a part of the Sapio community in the long run as well. So Sapio has we have been propagating since the beginning is the family rather than an organization. So जो भी एक महीने के लिए भी है यहाँ पे या एक साल के लिए भी यहाँ पे रहा है, they should stay connected, they should stay in that close knit, so that आगे जाके कभी भी कोई नई अपॉर्चुनिटी आए, कोई भी नई डेवलपमेंट्स हो, so they should be well aware of these things, as you know, right, family में ऐसे हम छोड़ नहीं देते किसी को. We always keep a grip on them, we stay in touch with them. So this is what comprises of Sapio Umbrella.
Sir, this is so sweet, the way you are keeping the members of your company. Sir, it is very interesting to know that it is a platform which is both knowledgeable and useful for people, which it all seems interesting. Thanks for telling us about it. So what would be your suggestions for freshers like us, and what are the skills they need to get to be industry ready?
So firstly तो enjoy this golden days. जो भी जितने भी बचे हैं ना तुम्हारे पास में, don't stress more about the professional life which is going to come afterwards. Of course you need to give a thought around it, but please enjoy these days to the fullest. That's what my topmost advice and suggestions would be to everyone over here, because these days are never going to come back again, whatever you do. So that is one thing. Apart from that, again, I'm relating these things back to Sapio because what we believe is what we try to inculcate into our culture. So I'm just connecting this thing back to Sapio, is that we believe more passion and more commitment should be there. That is, we focus more on the interpersonal skills rather than the technical skill set. So someone who doesn't know, let's say Python, for example, so we don't judge a person based on that. Means of course there is certain criteria weightage रहता है उसका भी, but rather more we are focused on the interpersonal skill set कि उसमें learning की capability है कि नहीं. They might not be knowing right now, right? We are all freshers, we come from different backgrounds. So we might not be knowing certain skill sets, but rather मैं सीख सकता हूँ कि नहीं सीख सकता. That is what something which we are looking into. So I would suggest that everyone please be open to whatever you are doing. Please be flexible in your approach, rather rigid in your vision, but flexible in the approach. Be open to learning as much as you can, and more importantly, stay committed to the work that you are doing. And in सबके ऊपर I would say one thing is that जो भी हम काम कर रहे हो, जो भी whatever work that you have been doing, make sure that that creates some or the other impact on the lives of other people. So this is something which will keep you motivated to learn, to be committed, to be dedicated, and be successful in whatever we are trying to do. So when you see that sort of happiness on someone's face when something that you have done must have impacted to them. So उससे और इच्छा होती है कि मैं और कुछ नया सीखूं और मैं extra hours do for this particular thing that we are doing. So do something which has an impact on the society. So that there is a monetary part associated with everything, but more importantly जो ये social part है ना, ये करने लग जाएंगे तो monetary part अपने आप आता जाएगा.
Definitely, sir. Thank you for your advice. Like, we know it's really important for freshers to be aware of what requirements of industries these days are. And we also needed to hear that we shouldn't put too much pressure on ourselves. So thanks for that.
Yeah, I've been seeing Tanishka, just at one point, that many people are nowadays learning so many courses, so many, people are taking up so much stress कि ये करना है, वो करना है, ऐसा
Yes sir, first year से टेंशन होने लग जाती है कि अब थर्ड ईयर में कौन सी इंटर्नशिप करेंगे,
सीवीज को इतना स्ट्रॉन्ग करेंगे, ये करेंगे, वो करेंगे. But at the end of the day, CVs matter, they do matter, the resumes matter, but how you execute things, na, that matters the most, I would say. So कोई लोग काम कर सकते हैं, कोई लोग काम करा सकते हैं, कोई लोग कुछ नहीं कर सकते हैं, right? So there are different types of people, सबके अपनी अपनी skills है. But I would say कि जो भी हम कर रहे हैं उसके अंदर हम open mind रखें, कहीं ना कहीं focus रहे. So my advice to the backbenchers would be rather stay focused on what you are doing. I was myself the most notorious person in the university, so I know कि बहुत अभी distractions होते हैं. There are people, there are peer pressures कि ये पार्टी में जाना है, वो पार्टी में जाना है, ये करना है, वो करना है. वो सब चीजें भी रहनी बहुत जरूरी है साथ साथ में. But along with that, stay focused to what at the end of the day you want to achieve out of what you are doing. So stay focused, and for the first benches, my advice would be be street smart, because professional life is not something कि हमने कुछ किसी को impress कर दिया और हमारा काम हो गया या नहीं हुआ. It's rather more कि हम कैसे execute कर रहे हैं, उससे क्या results निकल रहे हैं. Now execution में कई बार ऐसा होता है कि it doesn't matter कि हम किस style से execute कर रहे हैं कोई चीज को, but end result से भी it should be ethically right, of course, but end results matter a lot. So that is what my a short addition to what I had said earlier.
Definitely. Thank you, sir. So can we proceed to the next question? Like, we know that Sapio has reached great heights in the present, but we also understand that the journey wouldn't have been that easy. So what were the challenges that were faced by you and the company while it was in its growing stage?
Okay, so again, I'll link back to that the starting question where I described that I was just going through some document and the old minutes of the board meeting came across me, and there were very small points जो आज हमें लग रहा है कि small है. At that point of time, those were the minutes of the meeting, so you can understand कि वो बहुत highly impact. So there were small things like fund, right from raising funds to building the team to building that particular culture and get new businesses. So everything was a challenge, because what we tried to establish, Tanishka, at Sapio is something which हम लोग darkness में थे. There was no such government advisory from exactly as what we are trying to do. So it was completely a dark thing. But I don't know if you guys must have studied this term called blue ocean or red ocean strategy. आपने पढ़ा हो या नहीं पढ़ा हो, I don't know. So it's primarily a strategic concept. Red ocean is something जहाँ पे आपको बहुत competitors रहेंगे, बहुत प्राइस के अंदर कंपटीशन होगा, क्वालिटी के अंदर कंपटीशन होगा, हजारों लोग हैं, इट्स ऑल एक्सप्लोड. सो रेड इज बेसिकली कि एक दूसरे को मार के खून निकलता है ना जो. सो दैट्स व्हाई इट्स कॉल्ड द रेड ओशन स्ट्रेटेजी. उसके अंदर भी बिजनेसेस होते हैं, बहुत कुछ होता है. अनदर टर्म इज द ब्लू ओशन स्ट्रेटेजी, वेयर द फील्ड इज अनएक्सप्लोर्ड. उधर कुछ भी नहीं है, देयर इज अ मोनोपोलाइज्ड मार्केट ओवर देयर, ठीक है, बट स्टिल द मार्केट इज नॉट एस्टैब्लिश्ड. So to establish that market, a lot of challenges undergoes. First challenge was that market acceptability, making people aware that something of this sort is necessary. So government used to take decision, government is taking decision based on what experience they have, based on the data that they have and everything. But still there was this gap which we found existed between the data science and the government. So to make government aware कि ऐसा कुछ हो रहा है, इससे हम ये betterment कर सकते हैं on the already existing better infrastructure of the government. तो हम लोग उसको और कैसे enhance कर सकते हैं, to make that thing understand was something which was thoda difficult. Second thing which I found right from the beginning till now is building the right set of team, because there's this term which many people use, that the first 100 people in your company either breaks the company or makes the company. So right now we have somewhere around 200 plus people working with us on and off. So the first 100 or rather I would say not the 100, the first 50-60 people with whom we had worked were very selectively handpicked by us, like the senior management themselves, to ensure that जो हमारा vision है to create that social impact, that vision retains with those individuals जिन्हें हम हमारे साथ में काम करा रहे हैं. So it was very hard to find. Third thing was of course the funds. So being something new, being something fresh, so we had lack of funds, which was again one of the challenges that we had faced at that point of time. But with our innovation and with our chairman, with our CEO, everyone having their own connections and their own innovative mindset, we tried to decrease those particular challenges which we faced. So there were these three of these major challenges which we faced right from the beginning. Again, the government acceptability has increased now, it has enhanced now, but still there are a lot of processes when we try to make government the customer. So there is a lot of bureaucracy still in the picture, but again there are certain bureaucrats, there are certain individuals who are very proactively accepting this new shift in the paradigm. So those are someone which we are actively seeking guidance and working with. So these were the primary challenges, and one of the most important was that being again a new company, start से लेके उसको कैसे हमें प्रोडक्ट डेवलप करना है, क्या क्या नए चैलेंजेस आ सकते हैं. So getting those sort of domain experts in different fields. So right now there are 8 divisions within Sapio, 8 subsidiaries of Sapio, I would rather say. So there is another company for the electric vehicle, there is another company for the heritage and culture. But when we started, all things came together. तो उसको कैसे हमें स्ट्रक्चर करना है. So structuring that thing, अभी भी हम उस चैलेंज में हैं, but we are slowly improvising. We have good team right now. Ekta is taking care of the entire HR part and other things. So अभी जाके कहीं ना कहीं stable हुआ है, but structuring everything, planning that strategy is something which is important.
Okay, sir. So that's great to hear how you passed all the hurdles and to make
we have still not passed all the hurdles.
You are passing all the hurdles.
We started to accept that hurdles रहेंगे, but हमें अब आगे जाना है.
Yes, definitely. To make Sapio where it is today. So, sir, since every challenge gives us opportunity to learn and grow, so how was your journey from NMIMS to Sapio?
So my journey was again, I would say what a normal journey looks like, nothing very different. So I did my MBA Tech from NMIMS, and then I went to London for about a year for my master's degree, and that is somewhere which has always plays an important role in my life, because बाहर जाके अलग रहना, बाहर जाके networking करना, to build new relations with the people. And again, when I was in London, I was working closely for in the social sector. I was trying to connect with different people to help the Indian students over there. So we started with one organization over there as well, INSA. So that played one of the turning points in my life, that जो भी करना है, I want to do in the government sector, primarily impacting the citizens. Coming back to India from the UK, my family business was in the construction, so I went into the construction domain, but कहीं ना कहीं I did not get that sort of satisfaction कि कर रहा हूँ तो उसमें कुछ किसी का भला नहीं हो रहा, कुछ मजा नहीं आ रहा. So that is where I started with few things. I went into the production line, I started into the agriculture thing, I started with something called as a cab aggregator thing and all those. So I've done tons of things at the beginning of my career, which was not long ago. And later we initiated with the like-minded people came together, and we initiated with something which you are speaking right now about, Sapio. And Sapio पे भी इतना ज़्यादा focus हमारा आ नहीं पाया था वो time पे, because we had multiple things on our plates. Every founders had some of the other things. But at the time of COVID, when things became too serious and the work from home culture actually took into the picture. So वो time पे Sapio is something which we thought that we should give something to the society, because हमारे पास में आज अगर 10-15 लोग हैं who can create something for the betterment of the government, so we should build something of that sort. So that's when we started with our concept called decision support system for the COVID. So we provided this DSS to more than 8 to 9 urban and local bodies across the country, जहाँ पे इसके implementation से कहीं ना कहीं उनकी governance में effectiveness आई है. So that is where we started building up our team, and it has been, I guess, March 2020 से लेके अभी तक में जितना progress हुआ है वही आपके सामने है. So that has been my journey from NMIMS to the current state that we are having right now. So that was, I would say, I'll be very rude and selfish in saying this thing. Pardon me for that. But somewhere down the line, the opportunity came in the form of pandemic for us, where we realized the true potential कि हमारे पास में क्या है, हम क्या कर सकते हैं for the betterment of the society.
That seems really interesting. Being from the same university, like I'm sure this is going to be helpful indeed. So our next question is, we know it must have been very difficult to handle the pressure and stress that comes along with work. So what do you do to manage it?
Okay. Again, as I said ना, जब हम काम करते हैं जिससे कहीं ना कहीं सोसाइटी में बेटरमेंट आ रहा हो, तो that thing itself is enough to motivate Tanishka. That thing is itself enough to keep you inspired to keep on working despite those challenges and those pressures. So at the start of the pandemic, there were times that each one of us in the team used to sleep only for 2-3 hours in a day, more or less. And वो टाइम पे ना एक ट्रेंड हुआ था कि हम कभी फ्रेंड्स वगैरह कोई हाउस पार्टी पे मिल रहा है, कोई अलग अलग ऐप्स पे मिल रहा है, कुछ ना कुछ चल रहा है ना. सो देयर वाज अ लॉट ऑफ पीयर प्रेशर कि आज ये एपिसोड देख लिया नेटफ्लिक्स पे, वो देख लिया. बट all of us in the team, we were so focused and dedicated on developing something which can be beneficial for the society. So more or less इतना pressure और इतना work life के बीच में difference हमें इतना दिखाई नहीं दिया वो time पे. But of course, as time progresses, so new responsibilities come up and all those things. But again, as I've previously said, that we try on exploring new things जिससे कुछ ना कुछ betterment हो सकता है on the society. So that's where it helps us. So there is this concept of Monday to Friday जो हर organization में होता है कि working रहेगा. On paper Sapio पे वही है. अभी कई लोग मुझे गाली दे रहे होंगे when I'm saying this thing, but there are times that we work more on weekends rather than weekdays, because weekends पे और disturbances नहीं रहते हैं. Like for example कि कोई unnecessary call, unnecessary meeting, something वो सब नहीं रहता. Weekend पे थोड़ा free रहते, relaxed रहते हैं, because people know it's time for relaxing. So that is the time where we work to create the new strategy or new business development. So bottom thing is कि we work more to reduce that pressure, because at the end of the day we know कि vision क्या है. People are now talking about Zomato, about different startups who are raising so and so things and doing so and so work. We also raised recently at the valuation of 140 CR about 15 days ago. But that is not something which gives us motivation or gives us satisfaction. But rather when we say कि हमने 2000 मजदूरों को नौकरी दिलाई through our श्रमिक program, सक्षम program, for example. So that is what which motivates the people who are working with us. There are many people, Tanishka and Sachi, you might wonder, working with us on an unpaid basis since the last 4 to 5 months. This is not employee exploitation, I would rather say. Please don't take it otherwise. But this is something which people are so motivated from their heart that they want to work. They want to pursue their education as well as contribute towards the society. So bottom line being कि create that impact जो हम करना है society के ऊपर.
That is great to know, sir. Like, we know it's important to manage pressure and stress that comes along, since if it persists, it can take toll on health and well-being of many people. We are glad you could provide us with the information regarding to this. And so this is one of the questions from our attendees, Dhruv Chore. He's asking, due to pandemic hit, everything has shifted online, the work, the college, schools, and whatnot. So what are your thoughts on this, and how is Sapio coping up with everything being online?
So that is very true, Dhruv. Means everything is now virtual more or less. बीच में start भी होता है तो वापस से दूसरी wave आ जाती है, वापस से सब virtual पे आ जाता है. तो अब लोग डरने ही लग गए कि start करें या नहीं करें कुछ भी. So that is very true. Work culture में I would say कि time का कोई boundary रहा नहीं है. There are people working at 9 in the night, 10 in the night, एक बजे तक रात को काम करते हैं, but दोपहर में break ले लेते हैं. Right. So टाइमिंग्स का वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस में थोड़ा बहुत डिस्ट्रप्शंस रहा है. द मेजर थिंग विच हैज इम्पैक्टेड बट आफ्टर सेइंग ऑल ऑफ दिस इज जो एक पर्सनल रिलेशनशिप्स बननी चाहिए विद ऑल द मेंबर्स ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. दैट पर्सनल रिलेशनशिप इज समथिंग विच वी आर स्ट्रगलिंग विद. वी आर ट्राइंग टू कोप अप विद दैट थिंग, but that is something ki jo that is taken a toll on the entire efficiency as well as the output of what we are trying to do. So we try to organize the weekly 15 days virtual meetings and all face to face camera on करके हम सब बात करते हैं और but still जो एक physical environment रहता है ना जिसके अंदर हम जा रहे हैं. Now for example in this session that we are doing right now, so अगर ये physical होता था तो we would have chatted informally 15-20 minutes before, would have known each other on a personal level. इस event के बाद में we would have met 15-20 people more to know each other personally. So उससे एक रेपो बनता है, उससे एक रिलेशनशिप डेवलप होता है. सो राइट नाउ व्हाट इज हैपनिंग कि 11 बजे की मान लो हमारी एक मीटिंग है, तो 11 से 11:30 हमारी मीटिंग चलेगी. वो मीटिंग के अंदर वो पॉइंट्स के ऊपर ही डिस्कशन होता है, ऑल्दो 1-2 मिनट हम इधर उधर की बात कर लेते हैं, बट स्टिल दैट फिजिकल थिंग इज मिसिंग. सो this is one of the biggest challenge that we have identified from the virtual world. Second thing is there are many old school people who would be not very tech savvy. So for them to come on this platform to shift their entire business into the virtual thing is something which is very difficult. Thirdly, there are many manufacturing units, many things which can run despite all the technicalities coming into the picture. These things can run only in the physical mode. So retail shops हो गए for example and all those things जिनका bread and butter we have. So these are certain challenges जो है अभी virtual environment में आने से. Saying so, there are equally there are equal pros also for this कि थोड़ा घर में ज़्यादा time दे पाते हैं. People can improve their personal relationship within the families, within the friends and all those things, and can try to especially living in a city like Mumbai, तो जो traffic का travel time होता है वो travel time बहुत considerably reduce हो जाता है, तो उससे productivity थोड़ी बढ़ जाती है and all those things. So hope Dhruv that answers your question.
Definitely, sir. And being from the online batch, I guess many of us can relate to this thing.
Oh, I always say this to my interns who are in the college right now, that you guys are missing the most important and the golden days of your life being on an online platform rather than being in a campus. But there's nothing, limited things that you can do, but still try to enjoy as much as you can. Otherwise, there are people who say कि हम 2 साल का कोर्स है MBA का and all, then 2 साल तो उनके ऐसे ही निकल गए without getting into that campus life. So actually missing that college life जो होता है ना उनका. So for students like you, that is one of the biggest thing I guess which might be taking a toll.
Yes. So, all right. With this, we end the Q&A session. Thank you so much, sir, for encouraging words and making this session such an engaging one. And it was indeed a delight talking to you. And we'll definitely keep in mind all the advices given by you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Anyone if they want to learn something, anyone if they want to implement or experiment something, Sapio is the platform. Feel free to reach out to us. You can get the contact details from Aditi or anyone else who is working, or we can visit our website and try to learn new things and develop something which can be for the betterment of the society. Thanks Tanishka, thanks Achi, Aditi and everyone for organizing this wonderful session. Thank you, all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening words. We would like to thank our audience too in joining for today's Q&A session. We hope that this session was very helpful for you and provided a clearer path for the journey ahead. Sir, we will be very delighted if you will be able to attend the rest of the session, if time permits you. Thank you, everyone. Over to you, Isha.
Thank you, Shashi and Tanishka. With this, we'll now begin with a session, Fundamentals of Data Analysis using MS Excel, by session experts for today, Ms. Apurva Kumar and Ms. Aditi Singhal, students from MBA Tech 5th year, STME NMIMS Indore.